I just felt really.
All right, what's going on, my friends? Now 3 o'clock. Championship Sunday. Niners outscore the Lions 27-7 in the second half to win the NFC title, 34-31. Detroit with 2 failed fourth down conversions in the second half. Here's head coach Dan Campbell.
This may have been our only shot. Do I think that? No. Do I believe that? No. However, I know how hard it is to get here. I'm well aware. And it's going to be twice as hard to get back to this point next year than it was this year.
In the AFC, Patrick Mahomes headed back to his 4th Super Bowl in 5 years. Chiefs over the Ravens 17-10. Super Bowl 58 scheduled for Sunday, February 11th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. The Niners are set as a 1.5-point favorite. Trailblazers play the second of a back-to-back tonight in Modus. Sixers are in town. Tip at 7. I got game day at 4:30. The Blazers just 6 of 33 from three-point range last night in their loss to Chicago. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad's coming at you right now. All right, Dave Bartu of College Football Matrix is going to join us coming up in 20 minutes. He's a man of analytics. He knows the numbers, so we'll talk to him about Dan Campbell's decision-making. So Dave Bartu coming up in 20 minutes. Michael Shacker is at Moda Center getting ready for the Trailblazers and Sixers. And I've got the Godfather, Dwight Jaynes, with me. What's up, buddy? Good to see you.
It's good to be here on a day where we have a lot to get off our chests, right, Chad?
Yes. What did I tell you a couple of weeks ago after that game against Dallas when the Lions went down on a failed two-point conversion?
Chad, you're not always prophetic, but in this case, totally prophetic. You said if Dan Campbell keeps messing with a game like this, keeps making goofy decisions, it's going to kill him. It's going to cost him big time.
Yeah, he's crazy, and it proved out yesterday in that frustrating game against the 49ers. We'll get to that in just a moment. Dave Bartu in 20 minutes, and Blazer Game Day will kick off at 4:30, so we're going to focus in on football for the next 90 minutes. But we have a big event coming up in 2 weeks I want to talk about. But also, I mentioned last week how I went down to Power Kia in Salem, and they hooked me up. Tyler, Les, the entire crew down there took good care of me, and I drove out with a brand-new all-electric, the only all-electric full-size SUV on the market, the Kia EV9. And I had never driven an all-electric vehicle before, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. Well, number one, this is very spacious, and it's got plenty of room. I've got longer legs, so I immediately felt comfortable. I was blown away by the power that these electric cars have. So when you're getting on the freeway and you need to get up to speed, that's not going to be an issue in the all-electric vehicle. But just getting used to the whole idea of being in an electric vehicle, how it sounds, how it feels, the power, which it definitely has plenty of. So you're not limited in any capacity, whatever. But I had never charged an electric car before. Well, I've had 2 different experiences now. So right after I got it, I did some driving, went down to Spirit Mountain Casino, and came back to town. And I was able to stop off at a Walmart, and I plugged in and charged. And within 20 to 25 minutes, it was up to 80%. So a very easy experience. And then I went down to Moda Center working on the Trailblazers Radio Network. And the Trailblazers have done a good job of getting that arena retrofitted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I knew they were down there. I just didn't know where. there happens to be a plug-in charger with a parking spot right next to Trailblazer Broadcasting.
They tend to be the best parking spots in a parking structure.
It's basically like having a handicap sticker. So I pull into the spot.
Which you should have.
Yes.
If mental handicaps.
Yes. I'm definitely mentally
Yeah.
deranged. There's no question about it. So I plug in and I come out after the game when I'm done working, 100%, and I pull out. And I'm just like, wow, that's golden right there.
Yeah,
And as they told me down at Kia, the West Coast with the agreement with Canada all the way down to Baja, California, it's all set up to where even if you're going to drive long distance, you've got access to charging stations everywhere. I know your wife Nancy's got an all-electric vehicle, but so far so good. And it's so good, the EV9, it looks good and it feels comfortable. And, of course, it smells brand new. That this morning my daughter Kaylee was like, hey, Dad, can we take the Kia to school? She wanted to go to school.
Well, of course.
In the EV9, and we did, and she loves it. So.
Yeah, it's prestige for her, too, getting out of that car.
Now, here's the big test. You know, my son Isaac's all about certain vehicles. He loves American-made vehicles. He loves big trucks with diesel engines. Even Isaac is like, hey, that's an interesting-looking car there, and he was checking it out, and now he wants to go on rides in the EV9.
That's great.
Isn't that great?
Oh, man, driving those things, what a joy. And, Chad, you get out on the freeway, there's no lack of power there. Man, you can cut in and out all you want.
No, like I said, it's increased my street cred, which is nice. So if you're looking to get into a new car, you need to go to Power Kia. It's off I-5 exit 256 in Salem. Go online at powerkia.com and use the shop by payment tool. You plug in the payment you want to pay, and they will bring up a list of cars for you. And they've got all sorts of selections, so be sure to check it out. They've got the largest inventory of Kias in Oregon. So check them out at powerkia.com. But big thanks to Tyler and the entire crew down there. They're awesome, and the EV9's been great. All right, we have a big event coming up in just under 2 weeks. So on February 9th, which is the Friday before the Super Bowl, you and I are going to be over at Jackson's Food Mart, which is right across the freeway from where we sit right now.
Mm-hmm.
I-5 217 off Bangy Road, the Jackson's Food Mart right there. You and I are going to be chilling for a cause. We're going to be in the cooler at 37 degrees for 3 hours talking nonsense with the Rip City Drive.
I'm cold already just thinking about it. All I can think of is that time at a previous station where we did the put your feet in an ice bucket thing.
Yeah. I'm glad you reminded me of that. I've still got the audio of you moaning as your feet went into the ice water.
How long did I last, Chad? What?
Not long.
20 seconds, maybe?
You're kind of a grizzled vet. Like, I respect you for being a manly man.
Yeah.
But when you put your feet in that water, you sounded like a real softy.
I'm a hot weather guy. You know that. 100 degrees, I'm fine.
Yes.
Give me the hot weather.
Ice cold water, no thanks.
Yeah, no, Phoenix is fine. 115. Okay, that's fine. Don't bring me around that.
Well, just make sure you're bundled up on the 9th, all right?
3 hours. I'm going to bring an electric blanket, I think.
Oh, it's going to be great to watch the Godfather suffer for 3 hours. And he will, too. And he'll be complaining, which will be great.
That's right. Be sure and come by and watch me suffer. It's worth the price of admission right there. And there's no admission. So.
All right. Jackson's Food Mart, I-5 and 217 off Bangy Road. You can see it from the freeway. It's right across the street from iHeart Portland. We're going to be there for 3 hours, 3 to 6, doing the Rip City Drive from the cooler. So you can stop by and see us. You can also stop by to enter to win Trailblazer tickets and to help benefit ALS Northwest and the people in our community suffering from ALS. We're going to raise money and awareness for ALS Northwest. All the proceeds will go to ALS Northwest. We also have a website that's up right now. Go to ripcityradio.com. Go to our calendar page. You'll see Chillin' for a Cause. Click on it, and you'll find the link for our auction. And if you bid on these items, all the proceeds are going to go to ALS Northwest. We have autographed team basketballs from the Trailblazers. We have an autographed Scoot Henderson jersey. We've got autographed pennants. We also have Coors Light silver seats for a Trailblazer game you can bid on. You can also bid on to be a Trailblazer reporter for a game and join me at Moda Center for a Trailblazers game. And if you want to host the Rip City Drive, you can bid on that as well. And all the proceeds will benefit ALS Northwest. So we're excited about this. Chillin' for a Cause, Friday, February 9th. A great time for you to swing by Jackson's, stock up on the goodies for the big game, and that's where we're going to be from 3 to 6.
Yeah, and if you come by, it's worth your while, quite possibly, right?
Yes.
We got to have something to give them out.
We will. We have Blazer tickets.
All right.
Yes, so Blazer tickets. Stop by for your chance to win Blazer tickets, and we'll be there at the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road right there at I-5 and 217, Friday, February 9th. All right. The big story from yesterday was Dan Campbell, The Lions are up by 14 late in the third, or about midway through the third, after the Niners had taken the second half kickoff and gone down and gotten a field goal. They come up at 4th down and short at about the 28-yard line of the 49ers, and I thought, good, kick the field goal, go up by 3 scores. You're in a great position. Your offensive line is dominating the football game. But no, the Lions decided to go for it. And not only did they go for it, we don't need to run the ball with a dominant offensive line. Let's throw it. The problem is it was incomplete, and shortly thereafter, a wave of emotion went through Levi Stadium, and the 49ers outscored the Lions 27-7 in the second half and won the game. And here's what Dan Campbell had to say about the 4th down decision-making afterwards.
I just felt really good about us converting and getting our momentum and not letting them play long ball. You know, they were bleeding the clock out. That's what they do. And I wanted to get the upper hand back. It's easy hindsight, and I get it, you know. I get that. But I don't regret those decisions, and that's hard. You know, it's hard because, you know, we didn't come through. It wasn't able to work out, but I don't. And I understand the scrutiny I'll get. That's part of the gig, man. You know, we just didn't work out.
All right, there's Dan Campbell. After the first failed 4th down, it didn't take long for this to happen.
Chad. Out of the shotgun, drops a couple of steps, going to take a deep shot to Brandon Ayuk. It's deflected.
Oh, he caught it!
Caught! Ayuk caught it out of the air. A flag is also down. Did Ayuk score? He got touchdown on the 2-yard line.
The 49ers go on to score. Then Detroit fumbles. The 49ers score right away, tie game. And the entire complexion of the entire NFC title game changed in a heartbeat based on one call from the head coach. I was baffled.
Well, I'm baffled by what he said. If you break that down, he said they were bleeding the clock. That's what they do. And they do that. But look, they were down 2 touchdowns at the time. If you get the field goal, you put them down 3 scores. You'd like them to bleed the clock. You're ahead by 17 points. What are you saying? That doesn't even make sense. I mean, they're not going to be bleeding the clock down 17. But the other thing this analytics thing doesn't do, it doesn't account for the kind of emotion the other team will get if you fail. And you failed, you lit the fuse on that explosion. The Niners exploded in the third quarter, and you lit that fuse by failing to get the first down.
I agree. I think Dan Campbell was the 49ers MVP yesterday. I thought his decision-making was careless at best. And he's crazy. And so when I saw that Dallas game, I thought, okay, that's the type of decision-making that we don't see from Andy Reid or Bill Belichick
Right.
or the best coaches.
Yeah.
Because you get into that spot, I don't care what you think or what you feel, go up 3 scores. The 49ers up to that point had no life, none.
Yeah.
You were dominating the game on both sides of the football, and you go up by 3 scores, and the whole mindset of the 49ers is we're done. But you don't get the 4th down. They get the big play to Ayuk, and
They
all of a
went
sudden,
crazy, Chad.
the place went wild.
Yeah, they went crazy. The whole stadium did, and the Niners did. I mean, all of a sudden, Debo, he's going crazy. Purdy is making big plays. I mean, they were on fire after that.
Yeah, now here's the other key, too. And this is why I've always talked about in sports that when you get into a big moment or a big game, you got to capitalize because there's no guarantee you're going to get back.
Yeah.
Just take a look at Dan Marino. He went to 1 Super Bowl, never got back. That happens to a lot of athletes. And after the game, Campbell said, hey, you know what? This could be our only shot.
It's a lesson learned. And look, I told those guys, this may have been our only shot. Do I think that? No. Do I believe that? No. However, I know how hard it is to get here. I'm well aware. And it's going to be twice as hard to get back to this point next year than it was this year.
Exactly.
No kidding.
Exactly. You had that game won, but you got too careless. You basically said, screw it. Let's split the face cards and go for the bundle. And he failed.
And he's also left some doubt, I believe, in his player's mind concerning him. It's like, you can't tell me that pro players aren't second-guessing that move, whispering to each other in the locker room.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you think so?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know they love the guy and all, but you still have a tendency to say, you know what, we should have taken the points. Should have taken the points. You lose by 3 points, right?
Yeah. Yeah, not to mention, You're down 3 late in the game, 27-24. He elected to go for it again.
Could have tied
failed,
again.
and then all of a sudden they're down 10. They ended up scoring the touchdown. So that second field goal was equally costly.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And don't sell me on this. Well, that's what we always do.
Uh,
All right, so coming up next, a man that knows the numbers and the analytics. We'll talk with Dave Bartu, who actually puts together game plans for college football coaches and NFL coaches
Yes.
for how to handle these situations. We'll get his take. That's coming up next. That's Dwight. I'm Chad. You got the Rip City Drive.
Yeah, I just logged in. I'm gonna see if I got his contact. I got it. Colin. 4. I'll never use Taylor Swift as bumper music, but I'll gladly use Taylor Day.
All right, our next guest is a good friend, a great golfing buddy, and the man behind CFB Matrix. Dave Bartu is back on the show. Bartu, what's going on, my brother?
Dude, we're gonna have to start calling it the NFL Matrix here pretty soon. We're getting close to having more franchises in the NFL than in college football right now.
Dude, that's so awesome. In fact, that leads us to our first question. We were wondering, do the analytics change from the college game to the pro game, and if so, how?
Well, I guess it depends on what you're looking at, okay, and what you call analytics. In terms of the pro and college games, though, a lot of the work that we do outside of staffing is simply being a devil's advocate for our coaches. Because there's, as you can imagine, there's all sorts of people all the time bombarding coaches with different ideas on how to manage the game on the field, which personally, 22 guys moving at once, I'm not a big proponent of any analytics managing a football game. But at the pro level, things are just tighter. It's harder to find an edge because everybody is so balanced, and the offense versus the defense versus offense, across the board, there's just so little room for error and mistakes. So, when you're talking about, let's say, going for it on fourth down, okay, college football, rule of thumb, if it's 3 yards or more, you absolutely stay away from it. You're going to lose more games than you're going to win. On the pro level, once you hit 4th and 2, it's a lot dicier than 4th and 2 in college. So there's a lot less room for error when it comes down to these really tight things in terms of trying to make a decision on the field.
Dave, I'm curious, too, what you think about as we advance into the postseason. Would you change at all from what you do in the regular season to now? You're talking about a conference championship game where the winner goes to the Super Bowl. Would you get more conservative in that situation? How would you handle that?
I don't know if it's more conservative. A lot of people are talking about, with Campbell going for it on fourth down twice, right?
Yeah.
And the way I look at it is, if you're in any kind of game, do you want to be doing things that give your opponent an advantage? Okay? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Because so often, one of the reasons that coaches can be sold on the upside of things is because these guys are their culture. And Dwight, you've been around it a lot in the NBA too. Mm-hmm. These guys don't think about the downside. They don't think they can lose.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look. There's 100 former NBA coaches that could all tell you, dude, I could do a better job than what the current guy's doing right now. I can win with that team. I can totally win with that. They believe it, right? And the issue is they believe it to a fault. And it's the same way in the NFL. It's the same way in college football. These guys don't take losing as an answer. And so when you try to present something, like with going for it on fourth down or going for 2, they always try to say, well, if you do it every play over the season, you're going to score more points. But that doesn't mean you're going to win more games. right? Because
Yeah.
it's easy to go for 2 every time against crappy teams and rack up points, but you're going to beat them anyways. Right? And so getting back to your question about being conservative in the playoffs or not, understand that when it's 4th and 3 or more, and you go for it in the NFL, and that game ends in a score that is 3 points or less, like yesterday, okay? If you go for it on 4th and 3 or more, game ends in a score of 3 points or less, you lose more than you win.
And
You
Dave,
lose more than you win.
what I've seen too, Dave, especially it seems like when you, in a big game, when you go for it and don't get it, it so often seems to light a fire under the other team. They've made a big stop. That's a big boost for that team. And I think with the 49ers, that lit the fuse to their explosion in the third quarter.
It could have, and I've heard a lot of people talking about the momentum, but look, I'm a black and white guy, right? I'm X's and O's, I'm 1s and 2s. Well, how do you calculate that momentum? How do you know when it's going to show up? You don't know if going for it, heck, they could have gone for it and made it, and it may not have lit a fire under anybody. The Niners still could have been ready to roll, you know? And so, you know, gauging what is going to change the momentum it's impossible. It's one of those 20/20 hindsights where it's like, oh, you know, we shouldn't have gone for it because it shifted momentum. No, you shouldn't have gone for it because teams that usually do end up losing more than they win, right? That should always be the number one question of analytics if you're a head coach is, does this help me win football games above average, right? That's ultimately the question. All the events that have happened in the past, the last 20 years, 10 years, 5 years of NFL football, NBA basketball, you name it. In these situations, when a coach does or does not go for it, what is the likely outcome? And in college football and in the NFL, 4th and 3 or more in the red zone, you're going to lose more than you win, and it's going to be because of your decision.
So, Dave, give us the baseline for your advice or your work when you're talking to these coaches. What is your baseline for when to go for it on 4th down?
Oh, well, I'm not going to argue with guys at the college level, 4th and 2, 4th and 1. I'm not going to argue with them. I'm really not. Your success rate is pushing 70% on something like that. Okay. Now you have to really be careful when, from a field position standpoint, just because it's 4th and 1 on your 30 versus 4th and 1 on their 30, you have to consider the field position you're giving up. How good is the offense you're facing? How good is the defense you're facing? It's not just simply we're just going to go for it on 4th and 1 every single game. You know, it's got to be calculated, understanding what happens when you fail as well. But you know, in college, the simplest rule of thumb is 4th and 1, 4th and 2. You should be fine with that. But understand that the opportunity for it to affect the outcome of a game is few and far between. It's the same thing as going for 2. You know, there's every 25th game is a 1-point game in college football.
Yeah.
When it doesn't happen very much. So it really is less about book than a calculation. You know, it's a calculation. It's a subconscious calculation for the head coach, knowing that going for this probably increases their odds of losing. So as long as they're aware of that, and it's a culture they're trying to build, I get it. But it's hard to say we're going to do this every single time, because what's always changing is the quality of your offense versus the quality of the defense.
It's funny, Dave, that you say that, because while Campbell doesn't go for it every single time, it is seemingly a part of their core values with that team and with him. We're aggressive. We're going to go, you know, and he stated that over and over, which to me, I think these are decisions that I think you would agree that need to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis, right?
Right. You know, but again, it goes back to maybe he doesn't care. What if we sat down, if I sat down with Dan and logically, easily, simply explained that when you go for it, you are increasing the odds of losing. And he may simply say, I don't care. I want to build a culture that is fearless and aggressive.
Yeah.
Even if it costs us games, right? Because maybe it does, maybe they don't go for it all the time, but that culture helps them in other parts of being fearless and aggressive, not being scared. It's not just about being scared or confident in going for it on fourth down. It's about all aspects of the game, right? We as a team, the Detroit Lions, we play without fear. One of those things is, yeah, we do stupid things on fourth down. But that contributes to the overall fearlessness of everything else.
Yeah.
Right? We return punts and kicks a little bit more than everybody else. Why? Because we're fearless. This is what we do. And so, yeah, okay, we make some poor fourth down decisions, but I think it's more about a culture thing than actually people, as people are saying, trying to go by some book that doesn't exist.
We're talking with Dave Bartu, who is with CFB Analytical. He's got a CFB and NFL premier staffing analytics firm. Hey, Dave, so walk us through these decisions. I just want to know what you were thinking. The first one came in the third quarter, 4th down and 2 from the 49ers 28. They're up by 2 touchdowns. They could kick a field goal to go up 3 scores. They elected to go for it and did not get it. What was your thought process when you saw them going for it on that first one?
That one kind of hurt because it's kind of no man's land. Remember how I said if it was 4th and 3, it'd be like, you're an idiot, right? 4th and 2, I was really on the fence when it happened, but I'm also thinking, how good is this defense that they're facing, right? And at that point in the game, what was the score at that point?
24-10.
That puts you up 3 scores, and it doesn't give the Niners a short field, right? Because if you don't get it, you're giving the Niners the ball on what, the 40?
You would have given them the ball at the 28 at that point if you don't
28?
get the first down.
Okay, so it's not that much better. See, that one I was kind of in between on. I really was. Now, personally, in that situation, I'm taking points. That's what I'm always leaning to, is taking the points unless time and score pressure demand otherwise. But that one I really didn't have an issue with in so much as the 4th and 3 in the fourth quarter. I was screaming at the television, but hey, what do you know? Yeah,
because based on the definition you said, 4th and 3 or more than likely it's going to cost you. They had a chance to tie the game. He went for it. They didn't get it. And the 49ers went down and got the touchdown to go up by 2 scores at 10 points. Brutal.
Right. And so, like I said, 4th and 3 in college and the NFL, you're not converting that very often. Less than 40%. Right? I think people get in their mind that it's easy to convert. It's not. It's really not. 3rd and 3, it doesn't convert very well. Why would 4th and 3 be any better? But that 4th and 2, I know my gut said just kick it and take the points because that's what the numbers generally say, but I didn't really have that much of a problem with it in that situation.
All right, so Dave, based on what you know, how many of these, well, let's take the Lions, for example. Do they have a plan when it comes to analytics? Is there a card, or is Dan Campbell basically making decisions on the fly on when to go for it or when he doesn't want to go for it?
Well, the folks that I work with, a lot of this stuff is decided on before the game even starts, right? This is how we are going to do this in this game.
Right.
If we see this, if we see X on a onside, on a kickoff, we're going to go for the onside kick. There's a lot of things that are what I call trigger points, where they just have it in a game plan, and if we see this scenario, we're just going to absolutely go for it. And so it varies week by week, and I don't think that a lot of these guys go into it with the idea of, I'm just going to be loosey-goosey with it. If you ask Dan Campbell, I think in his mind, if it was 4th and X or less on the plus side of the 50, he was just going to do it, right? Numbers or not, that was just in his head. So I don't believe there is one universal way that head coaches attack this. I think it's more of a, here's what we see, here's our game plan. They try to game plan everything they can for outcome. But I do believe that a lot of those scenarios, going for 2, going for it on 4th down, those decisions are made actually before the game as kind of a group. The head coach has to say yes or no to it, but a lot of that stuff is done in the pregame. Now, one of the things I would like to point out, though, in terms of scenario analysis, how absolutely gorgeous did Baltimore taking the penalty to force Kansas City into a 1st and 10
It's genius.
instead of 1st and 5 without any clock going off. That was the greatest thing I saw all weekend.
They knew with that 5-yard penalty being 1st and 5 that they'd be able to burn out the clock, so they intentionally took a freaking personal foul. I thought it was incredibly smart. I've never seen that done before.
Right, but what and see, that wasn't made up right there. That was specifically a card of, if we get in this very, 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 very rare scenario, right, this is what we're going to do. And bang, they were ready to do it. There's something that was also planned. That play could have been planned years in advance. If we get into a situation where it's 1st and 5, because now no time came off the clock at all, and now went from 1st to 5 to 1st to 10. When I saw him jump on purpose, I just lost it. That was the best part of my whole weekend.
But, Dave, the one mistake that was made with that is he gave him a cheap shot. He hit him too hard, and it was actually a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty or unnecessary roughness, whatever they called it. So it did move the ball further back. That's what
it did. It moved the ball further, but it had no effect on the outcome. All right. I mean, if they don't hit that 3rd down, then the clock stops and they're punting. Right now, maybe it did cost them 10 yards, but it did give them the opportunity of forcing Kansas City to go farther. Yeah, he didn't need to commit the personal foul. Kudos for him for making sure he did it, though.
Yeah, right.
He got his money's worth on that one.
Yeah. The other thing, you've mentioned this when we've talked before, Dave, about field position when you do go for it. And I think it seems to make sense to me that the further you get out away from the end zone, the less likely I'd want to do it, because even if I pick up the 1st down, I still have a lot of field to go. There's no guarantee I'm going to score anyway, And it's like I look at a couple of those situations, and, you go for it, and you're still on the 30 or the 35 or wherever you are. You might fumble on the next play or whatever. And so I think the field goal is a better bet quite often if you have that reliable guy you can depend on. I mean, I hate field goal kickers in the first place. I don't even think they should kick field goals. It's just not fair to have a non-football player affecting so many of these games. But that's just
my gosh, old man yelling at clouds on the radio.
I know.
Oh my gosh,
it's terrible. These guys fight all day, and here comes this guy who he's got a clean uniform. He's going to go out and kick or miss the field goal and betray all his teammates.
Well, I mean, if they stop kicking it, then we got to call it something else besides football. So, therein lies one of the problems.
Hey, they call soccer football, so what the heck?
Well, Dave, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts on this. I was fascinated by the action that we saw. The personal foul penalty by Baltimore that I thought was genius, and then the Dan Campbell stuff, fascinating to me. Detroit, do you need... Like, Brad Holmes, their general manager, needs you. Dan Campbell needs you. Do you want me to reach out to Brad for you?
No, I don't. I don't even want to do the on-field stuff. No. I mean, to me, I know this sounds strange, but I don't like the on-field analytics. I really don't believe in most of them. I think most of it's mumbo-jumbo. It's they try to compare it to baseball, but it's the dead opposite. I mean, you got 22 guys moving all at once across a 52 by 120-yard field. Right? I mean, you have all these combinations, and it moves so fast.
Yeah. But you could be Coach Campbell's devil's advocate, though. You could be the devil's advocate that he needs in his ear.
No, the cool things I'm working on right now is using our college coaching grades and matching it up with the draft. Oh, okay. We are trying to make our clients more draft effective by being aware of who's coaching their guys at the college level.
Oh.
That's high level.
Yeah.
That's high level, Godfather.
Oh, wow. That's a very complicated process, isn't it?
Oh, it is, unless you have all the data. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Now imagine, Dwight, an NFL franchise. Let's go with the Denver Broncos, right? I mean, your
random team.
Right?
Sure.
Right? Friend of the show. Imagine if you had access to all their scouting. See, because some scouts will downgrade guys based on the quality of the team, based on the perceived quality of the coaching. Now, if we can start putting a number to that, can we make a franchise more effective at drafting by understanding who's coaching these guys at a collegiate level?
So the better coach they have, does that mean they're going to be a better player? Or could it be that they've already reached their developmental peak because of what they got in college?
Right. That's one possible source, right? This is what we call complementary scouting. So one franchise may downgrade a guy because he thinks he's overcoached, right? But then there's the other hypothesis. It was like Justin Herbert when we were working on the draft for that. And we're like, okay, the reason we made Justin unequivocally our number one in that draft was because of his offensive coordinator. See, Marcus Arroyo before Oregon was terrible, right? And then Herbert puts up top 20 offensive numbers for 3 straight years. And then when he leaves, he goes back to being terrible. So there's 2 parts to that. What about the guy that you go, wow, there's a lot of potential here, and then we go, yeah, he's really, really undercoached. Nobody's tapped him. But where on the other side is like, well, which guy is more ready? Well, this guy was really well coached, and he might be ready. So it also depends on what round you're in. Are you looking for starters? Are you looking as an undrafted free agent? There's a ton of different ways to look at this, but all of it comes back to one thing. Can we make the draft process more efficient for our NFL clients?
All right, check it out. Patreon.com/CFB Matrix. Dwight, it's why I call him the world's most interesting man. Dave Bartu is amazing. Hey, Dave, you're the best, man. I appreciate you coming on to talk. That was awesome.
Take it easy, brother. Appreciate you guys.
You got it. There you go. Thanks, Dave Bartu.
Always.
Stimulating.
Yeah, fascinating. It's always that way.
The stuff I learned from that guy over the course of 4 hours on a golf course, I just look at him sometimes. I'm like, I got to get to that level.
No, that's a guy you want to sit around for a couple hours just talking,
I need to mine him for information and somehow
off
keep
the
it.
air, he'd probably tell you some stuff.
He does.
About your team, too.
He does.
Yeah.
Not always information I like either.
Yeah, I bet. It's
All
given
right.
your team, yeah.
We'll come back, and when we do, we got to talk Brock Purdy. I recognize something about him I really like in the second half last night. We'll tell you what that is next on the Rip City Drive.
See, man, I ain't tripping off none of my homeboys. And I ain't tripping off none of her girlfriends.
Don't trip, Raphael.
Because I can't do that. We're going to be the
Choices always were a problem.
back in 3, and it's a 5-minute segment. I don't know if you heard me. It's a 5-minute segment here.
All right, following the 49ers come from behind victory over the Detroit Lions, Brock Purdy talked about redemption.
Obviously, just the feeling of redemption, coming back. It's huge, man. And for all of us, what we went through, I guess, last year, this whole year's been crazy. You go through highs, you go through lows, and even in this game, the season's on the line, you're down 17. And then to see the clock hit 0 and you're up is special to all of us. And so, obviously, we have one more. Job's not finished, but I can't tell you guys how proud I am of the team.
There's Brock Purdy. You know what I noticed last night, Godfather, is that when the 49ers were struggling to get things going, and then they finally got things going in the second half, the one thing I appreciate about Brock Purdy, we saw it last week against Green Bay too, he's very even-keeled for a young guy, very mature for his age. I don't know if that's part of the extra time he had in college at Iowa State, but I like the way he handles himself. And my guess is that his teammates respect that, but it really helps when your quarterback is able to remain calm and have a certain demeanor that promotes, hey, we got this. I'm confident. He didn't look scared or worried. He just continued to go out there and work. And while he's been able to overcome a couple of awful first half against Green Bay and against the what we saw yesterday against the Lions, I think part of that's his demeanor. Like, I respect that. Yeah. And then I don't know if Shanahan mentioned something to him or if it was just something that came natural, but the way he was much more willing to run and pick up some key yards with his legs in the second half, I thought that was critical too. But props to Brock Purdy for just the way he handles himself, very calm and collect for a young quarterback with very little experience. It's impressive.
He's pretty good for a guy that's really just started a year and a half in the league and comes from a college that you wouldn't expect him to be a great quarterback coming out of that school. And last guy picked. And he has not become the rags to riches story that you would have thought the last guy picked in the draft would become. He's had his detractors, and many of those are just people that want to stick to their original opinion and not change after what they've seen, I think. But he's been really good. Some of the throws he made in the second half were big time, and those runs were huge.
Yeah, and this is the exact situation where he can basically shut up everyone. I've been saying ever since he took over, in a big game to win a championship against a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, he won't be able to get it done. And I don't think he will. But if he does and he takes out the best quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, that should silence all critics.
Chad, how do you feel about them being favored? I was shocked to see the Niners favored in that game.
I think it's insanity. I don't understand.
They're like, what is it, 4? 3.5?
1.5.
1?
It opened up around 2.5, but the line has come down since last night. Yeah, so the Chiefs are underdogs again. Now, the great thing about Purdy, and we've seen it in the game against Green Bay and in the game yesterday, Purdy's not the perfect quarterback, and there's certain limitations he does have. And we saw those limitations in both games. But when he had the opportunity to make some plays when his team needed it, he was able to get the job done. And you got to give him credit for that. So we'll see how things play out in the Super Bowl. But in my mind, I look at the game, I'm like, who's got Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, I'm taking that team. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes, I am comfortable saying this now, and it pains me because of the quarterbacks that I grew up loving. He's the best quarterback of all time. I understand the ring culture will struggle with that one, but he's the best I've ever seen. And I would pick him to be the quarterback of my team over all the guys. Montana, Elway, Brady, Manning. Take your pick. I'm going Mahomes.
Yeah, I urge people to take the eyeball test because he is number one with the eyeball test. He's doing things Brady didn't do.
And we'll get into that coming up next. He's the best, Godfather.
Yeah. I would agree.
Like, I hate the Chiefs. I always have. I hate them. But he's so good that I just have to admire him. I'm just like, whoa, Patrick Mahomes is a bad boy.
Too. You got to admit, he's really fun to watch.
Oh, my goodness.
So creative.
That little float pass for 2 yards to Travis Kelce was unbelievable.
I thought it would never get there.
It was like a little hook shot. Here, take this, Pat.
Yeah.
I got you. Incredible. And how about Patrick Kelce? 11 targets, 11 receptions? How good's he going to be after 2 weeks off?
Look back at his career in big games. Oh, my. He has produced in the postseason.
If I was with someone like Taylor Swift, would that add that much juice to my radio game?
I'd like to see a try.
Oh, Michael Shacker admitted to me, our producer today, he admitted to me that all the stuff he's been saying about Taylor Swift is a lie, and he's actually in love with her.
No.
He
He said that?
He did. He said, you know, all that stuff I've been saying about Taylor, I'm just pulling your leg. I actually think she's hot. He's down.
Oh, I can't believe that.
I know. That's Michael Shacker. That's the effect that Taylor has on Travis Kelce and Michael Shacker.
She's won him over.
All right, we'll talk about the Chiefs, their championship culture, Patrick Mahomes being the best. That's coming up next. All right, what's going on? It's now 4 o'clock.
Brock Purdy's going to his first Super Bowl. Just back up here, Brock. Take 1 or 2 steps back up, go down. It's over. The Niners are going to Vegas.
There's Greg Pop on the call. Niners outscored the Lions 27-7 in the second half to win the NFC title game, 34-31. In the AFC, Patrick Mahomes headed back to his 4th Super Bowl in 5 years. Chiefs over the Ravens, 17-10. Super Bowl 58 scheduled for Sunday, February 11th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Niners are a 1.5-point favorite over the Chiefs. Trailblazers play the second of a back-to-back tonight at Moda. Sixers are in town. Tip at 7. I'll have game day starting at 4:30. Join Dwight and I Friday, February 9th at Jackson Food Market I-5 and 217 off Bangy Road. We will be chilling for a cause. Rip City Drive live from the cooler to raise money for ALS Northwest. Stop by to enter your chance to win Trailblazer tickets. More of the Rip City Drive right now.
Out of the shotgun, drops a couple of steps, going to take a deep shot to Brandon Ayuk. It's deflected. Oh, he caught it! Caught! Ayuk caught it out of the air. A flag is also down. Did Ayuk score? He got touchdown on the 2-yard line.
I just feel like we're a little bit like everybody else who didn't make it, you know, and everybody else who lost. Unless you're San Francisco and who won the other one, I don't even know. KC, then you got a pretty bad taste in your mouth. It's what's great about this sport, what's great about the game, it's what's great about the tournament, and it's also what just crushes you.
Yeah, it was cool. Just going into two hostile environments, having to come together as a team and to win those games and hold that trophy, it really was special. But if I had my choice, I'd rather do it at Arrowhead. So we'll try, after we go through the Super Bowl and hopefully win it, we're going to try to get it back at Arrowhead next year. I was kind of just scrambling left, and I knew I couldn't throw it with my right hand, and I knew we needed the first down. So I kind of just like shot putted it to Tyreek, and he got the first down. It speaks volumes to this team and like how much heart and determination that we have. The running backs, the receivers, everybody just kept fighting, and we came out with the win.
You know, John, that whole idea that you never know if you're going to have a chance to get back there, that rule only applies to teams like the Lions or maybe Dan Marino and the Dolphins. It does not apply to Patrick Mahomes and the freaking Kansas City Chiefs.
He's already talking about making sure they get all the playoff games at home next year. So, yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. He figures he's going back.
I can tell you why they want to win this game. One, they want to win because it will put pressure on Andy Reid to come back and not consider retirement. No team's gone three-peat in the NFL, and if the Chiefs get it this year, that's back-to-back, and then they can put themselves in a position to do something that no one else has done. And if you're trying to be considered the greatest of all time, doing things that the other guy and Tom Brady didn't do doesn't hurt your cause. But the Chiefs, I mean, they're ridiculous. I'll just say this about Mahomes. He is the best I've ever seen play quarterback. I understand Tom Brady and the 7 rings and everybody else, but if I'm picking one guy to win a game or to win a season or to win a championship, Patrick Mahomes, pound for pound, with his accuracy, leadership, playmaking ability, smarts, his movement, he has everything I want in a quarterback. I've never seen anyone do it better. And it pains me to say it, but he's unbelievable.
He's the great improviser, too. So creative, so able to, you know, he's throwing sidearm, he's throwing from down under, he's throwing backhands.
Yes.
The whole thing. He's throwing jump shots even.
Yes,
know?
I want to ask you this because you picked up on something that I think is critical. And it's something that winning players have, winning quarterbacks have. What is something you've noticed about Mahomes and the way he's handled his game this year to show or to illustrate how great he truly is?
Yeah, he's really adapted. He has changed when he's had to. And I look at this season. Look, offensively, we've agreed all year. They're not the juggernaut on offense that they've been in the past. They're having to win by scoring fewer points and holding teams to less. At some point this year, he came to realize, I can trust my defense. My defense is going to hold people down. So, and we saw it in the game yesterday, in the second half. He's out there knowing that if he doesn't make a mistake, his defense is probably going to hold him right there, and they're going to win the game. So he's forgetting about, I need to get 350 yards and throw 4 touchdown passes. He's playing it cool. He's managing the game a bit. He's not a game manager, but he is managing that game by being more conservative, making sure that everything is right, no fumbles, no turnovers, no picks, no nothing. And it's really played into their success. I mean, what did they win? Was it 17-14 they won that game?
17-10.
17-10, right. It's ridiculous for them to win a game like that.
Well, if you would have told me going into the game that Kansas City was only going to score 17, I'm like, well, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They got the job done. And that's what I love about smart quarterbacks, because Mahomes is thinking, okay, we're up in this game now. You may come back and beat us, but you're going to have to do it yourself. I'm not going to give you the game.
That's what it's all about.
And sometimes that's being the right quarterback, being smart.
Yes.
So look at the
It's anti-Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, where you make a dumb play because you're being overly aggressive.
Right, when you don't need to be.
Or you're being Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
You know, getting greedy with the situation.
Right, you don't have to do that.
Okay, so look at these offensive coaches, Godfather, throughout the course of just this season and why it's important to maybe consider hiring an offensive coach. We talked about Matt LaFleur last week after the game against San Francisco. Look at the job he did from day one up until the end of the year with his quarterback, Jordan Love. Do you see the progress and the way he finished out the year looking like they're going to be set at quarterback for another decade plus?
Yeah.
So LaFleur and the job he did with that quarterback is amazing. Let's take a look at the job that the Texans did with C.J. Stroud, the way they coached him up and played the right way to get him in a position to have success, and he's going to be the Rookie of the Year. Look at the Chiefs this year. Throughout most of the season, the receiving core just didn't have it. Dropsies, mistakes.
All year.
Mahomes was frustrated. What about the job that Andy Reid did, continuing to show confidence in that receiving core? And look at him in the last 3 weeks. Looking great against Miami, looking great against Buffalo, and making big plays yesterday. That's coaching.
It's amazing, too. It really is. Those guys couldn't catch a cold.
Yeah. Look at the work that Kyle Shanahan's done with Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
He's got Mr. Irrelevant in an effing Super Bowl. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Those offensive coaches, guys like that, huge difference makers, which is nice. But the other thing that's a value for Andy Reid is, you know, he's got these guys, these coaching trees, right, where you have longtime assistants that you trust that come back. Look at his defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, who I know you respect. He's one of the best in the game.
Oh, man, has been for years.
Well, he's already had a chance as a head coach. He's been in the league for a long time. He's older, so he's not going to get a sniff at another head coaching job. So Andy Reid's got this luxury of knowing that as long as he continues to be head coach, that's one part of his coaching staff he never has to worry about. Spagnuolo's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's a huge edge because you have the same guys giving the same information to your players year in and year out, and it's so much easier to adapt instead of being in a position where you got to replace assistants like Kyle Shanahan every year, right?
Yeah.
I just think the Chiefs, and we saw it yesterday, right? And the 49ers have it to a degree because of the experience they have, but the Chiefs' championship culture, their confidence, they didn't lose their dome. They weren't making the dumb plays that you pointed out like the Ravens were. They were kind of egging it on and getting those guys to make dumb mistakes.
Yeah.
That's part of being a winner.
They were even, like you say, egging it on. I hate it when guys get these little chippy things after a whistle. Don't push a guy.
You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, these games are too important to get into that little trashy stuff after a play's over. And they goaded Baltimore into those twice. I mean,
like Roquan Smith, a smart player getting goaded into a dumb maneuver.
Well, Kelsey's he's laughing about it as soon as the flag went down. It's like, come on, be smart. You don't need that stuff.
And then on the flip side, I was really frustrated with the Ravens coaching staff, Harbaugh and their offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. Look, Lamar Jackson obviously is going to have to play better in the postseason or he's going to carry that label of great regular season player forever.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes. But his coaching staff didn't help him out. That team all year, and the reason why I thought they're going to win that game and win big is because they go in there and they play a Raven style of football. We're going to get aggressive on defense and kick your butt, and we're going to run the football down your throat, and we're going to have such great balance between the run and what Lamar's doing and the play action that you're dead. They didn't even try to run the ball, Godfather.
No, I know.
What
I
are they
know.
doing?
He just gave up on it.
You're going to drop back Lamar Jackson play after play after play when Spagnuolo's blitzing the daylights out of you?
And it wasn't like they were way behind and had to do that. It was a close game.
Huh. And then I think even though Lamar's made vast improvements with his work in the pocket, you saw it yesterday where early in the game he was getting, I don't know what word to use, fidgety. He was fidgety in the pocket.
Yes,
and
he was.
And they didn't do anything to help him. He's just getting their blocking, and the Chiefs are bringing an extra guy almost every down. Yeah. What's going on there? No run game?
They were
Morons?
able to get, and like I talked about last week, you want to get him off platform, but you're worried because he's going to break loose and run the ball for 50 yards on you.
Yeah.
They did a great job of moving him to spots he was not comfortable with, but he still didn't kill him with his running. It was a great defensive job, I thought.
It was a terrific defensive job.
Their offensive or defensive line, they put the bull rush on. They rushed straight ahead. They stayed in lanes. They didn't give him room to make, judgments about rushing upfield.
What's that quote that was going around from Bobby Knight on Twitter after Dan Campbell's
so I can get it right
episode?
The first time. Dumb loses more games than smart wins.
That's a great line.
But it's true.
It's so true. I've said this time and time again when it comes to football games. More games are lost than they are won. And we saw it yesterday. The Ravens won, their offensive coordinator just abandoning the run. Foolish. The turnovers in the red zone, brutal. Trying to extend the football out to get over the goal line before you're even at the goal line, dumb. Just dumb. The throw by Jackson into triple coverage, horrific.
Yeah.
You can't turn it over in the red zone in those spots and come over with no points and beat the Chiefs. You're done. Dan Campbell getting greedy and going for it when he could have kicked the field goal to go up 3 scores or at the end of the game to tie the game at 27.
Yeah.
Dumb. You make dumb decisions, and it costs you games like that. And the 49ers were begging to lose that game. They were begging. And Detroit just gave them a crease, and like good teams do, they're like, okay, you're going to give us an opportunity, we'll just blow through it. And they did.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand the incompetence. It's really mind-blowing. I feel bad for Lamar because I like him. He's got to play better, but I thought the coaching staff failed him. That was a horrific game plan. Horrible. You're not going to run the ball? Your whole identity is running the ball. The Chiefs' weakness on defense is stopping the run, and you're just not even going to attempt to do it.
Yeah.
In a close game. Idiots.
I still think Lamar isn't there yet on becoming a pocket passer. He's still...
No, he's got work.
He's a little wild. He needs to get better with his accuracy. Much better than he was the first time he was in the playoffs. It's better. And he won a playoff game this time. That's fine. But
by the way, Chris Burkhardt sent me the number because he and I were talking or trying to guess what the number would be. The viewers for yesterday's NFC title game, Lions, 49ers, 56.7 million.
Yeah.
The NFL is so much in control of everything. It's mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Would the NBA kill to have a 56.7 million
Oh, God.
viewer?
Yeah, they would kill to have that for a week. Are you kidding me? A week.
56.7 million.
How many of those were there to watch Taylor Swift? What would you
No,
subtract?
that's the Lions and 49ers game.
Oh, that's right. That was the other game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're going to have Taylor Swift at a football game, you need to put her on television more.
Well, you said it last week. There should be a Taylor cam.
I'm all about that.
Yeah.
The more I can see her, I would go split screen. One side the game, one side Taylor.
Yeah.
And then you get the best of both worlds. I love all these guys, too, like, oh, I don't need to see Taylor. She's okay. Yeah.
Well, she's good looking. Well, I don't know.
She's not really my type.
I'm not sure. Yeah, not your type.
No, she's a smoke show, and it's okay to have her at football games. And my guess is her at the Super Bowl is going to break the internet, and it's going to set ratings records.
Oh, Chad, you think she'll be able to get a ticket? You think she'll be able to get in?
I want some type of tracker on her private jet coming back from Tokyo. I want to know when she gets into town. That's amazing. Oh, I'm just fascinated by the whole thing.
Can you imagine how excited she's going to be over that Super Bowl? Woo.
I was surprised to see her on the field after the game making out with Kelsey, too. That was pretty awesome.
It was a nice show for the Taylor Swift fans. Wow.
All right. Speaking of crazy, Jim Harbaugh got in front of the microphone yesterday. It was amazing. Apparently, he was starstruck when he met Justin Herbert.
I got to hear that.
All right, that's coming up next. who's the new head coach of the LA Chargers. There's basically nothing I don't love about Jim Harbaugh. I've always been a fan, and I can't wait to see him working with Justin Herbert. He was on the CBS broadcast yesterday with Bill Cowher, who had a chance to interview him, and he talked about why he's taking the job and mentioned what it was like when he met Justin Herbert for the first time. Let's take a listen to Cowher and Harbaugh.
You know what? Let me ask you this, Jim. I know you left Michigan. How hard was it for that to go to the LA Chargers? Was it more maybe some unleft business left to be done in the NFL?
Yeah, it was tough. I was torn. My wife, kids. I love Michigan, but I love the NFL too. And there's no Lombardi Trophy in college football. And yeah, I got so many sands left in the hourglass, and I want to take a crack at that. And there's nowhere better to do it than with the Los Angeles Chargers, Susie Spanos, Dean Spanos, Ed McGuire, John Spanos, and this great quarterback.
Oh yeah, so have you talked to him?
I have, and I met him, and Derwin James. I mean, pros, these guys, Keenan Allen. But I was a little starstruck.
Yeah. So maybe some of the Chargers are out there have not talked to you or met with you yet. What's that first meeting going to be like with Jim Harbaugh? What's the culture you want to build with LA?
I'll tell you what, I'm probably going to reference this right here. You know, we work together, we win together, and it's worth it. I mean, the hard work, the sacrifice, the pressure, all of it. Why would somebody put themselves through that? Because the rewards are just so darn good. And you can see that today. And what a football game we're going to have today.
Hey, so do you have any advice for John Harbaugh? Did your brothers? You talk to your brother today?
They got him ready. I was around the team last night. I mean, it's confident. They're not overconfident. They had a great week.
Well, I'm sorry, Jim, but they didn't have him ready. They played terrible.
No.
He should have talked to his offensive coordinator and said, hey, I don't like this game plan. You're not going to run the football, you moron?
He was all juiced up. That's funny. He even got Cowher excited.
Can you imagine for Justin Herbert and anyone else on that roster that's been there for a while, after Anthony Lynn and the dumb Brandon Staley, like Justin Herbert's mind's going to be blown in terms of the structure, the detail, the expectations, the demands. Like Herbert, we always talk about what Harbaugh is going to do for the Chargers. Just imagine how much better Herbert's going to be when he's being properly coached. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity for Justin Herbert to finally get a chance to showcase what he can do.
Probably be the best coaching he's had since he was in high school. He had pretty good coaching at Sheldon, but I don't think there was much at Oregon.
Let's go down the list again. Helfrich, Taggart, Cristobal, Anthony Lynn, Brandon Staley. That's not good.
No.
But now you go from that to one of the absolute best, who is going to demand, and the best part is, if he's not doing it right, he'll get coached.
Yeah. There's going to be a big expectation level there.
Because you know who's got control now? That's Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Full power and control. And that's a good thing. Maybe not so much for the owners and the front office 4 years from now, but right now it's a very good thing.
Right.
Just stay out of his way. Don't get butt hurt and let him do what he does.
It's going to be a very productive 4 years.
Cool.
You can bet on that.
Oh, yeah. There's no question in my mind. I understand what he's going up against, but he'll have them in the Super Bowl. This is the best thing that could have possibly happened to Justin Herbert. This coach right now. It's the best thing. He couldn't have prayed and asked for a better coach. It's exactly what this franchise needs. Direction, discipline, a focus on details, what it takes to win. He knows everything.
Yeah.
It's genius. Props to them for making the move. He also mentioned the entire Spanos family, too. He was crazy in that interview. Smiling. He's got the weird smile on his face. I love Harbaugh, but he's kooky. He is a different cat. He's the weird one in the family.
I think kooky might be kind to him. I think it's just he crazy. I think that's the best two-word description.
The difference is he crazy, but will make good decisions, unlike Dan Campbell. Campbell was crying after the game. I'm like, wow, he really is unstable, crying.
He just read early editions of the newspapers tomorrow in Detroit that are going to be banging on him for the next 6 months.
Yeah, and Detroit's not exactly L.A. People there, they have nothing else to look forward to except cold weather and bitterness.
And bad basketball.
Really bad basketball. Oh, my goodness. All right, that's going to do it for us. The Godfather is on his way. Thank you for your time, my friend.
Yeah, happy to be here.
All right, join us February 9th at the Jacksons off Bangy Road right here at I-5 and 217. Chilling for a cause. We'll be in the cooler at 37 degrees.
We'll be freezing for a reason.
Here we go. The inbound to begin it. Drive, stop, punt, shoot, short, no goal, and the game is over! On the inbound play, inbound, fades at the horn, he scores! They score, and they win it! Bingo, bango, bongo. Yes, sir. Bounce pass to Jaynes. Jaynes for three. Rip! Finish! Yes, sir.
Blake now throws to Roy. Brandon, a three-pointer out front. Hit it! Yes, he did! Oh, yeah! Deep three. Oh! What? Blazers win the series. A walk-off three from Lillard.
It's a new era in Portland.
Rebound, Sharp, put back, dunk. And a new career high for Shaedon Sharp.
I will miss the chance to learn from Dame, but we also have Anthony Simons and JG, guys that have been around him. I won't miss the development on my own part.
It's Blazers Game Day with Chad Dewing. Blazers Game Day is presented by Frost Brewed Coors Light, made to chill.
Well, good afternoon, my friends. This is Blazers Game Day. I am your host, Chad Dewing, along with my partner, Chris Burkhardt, as the Portland Trail Blazers will play the second of a back-to-back tonight against the Philadelphia 76ers. Tip-off is going to come up at 7 from Moda Center. We are with you all the way up until 6 o'clock before Curtis Long takes over with the Trailblazers pregame show across the Trailblazers radio network. Coming up on the show, we're going to hear from Chauncey Billups. We'll focus in on the matchup tonight. We'll have What's the Scoot and give you the latest on Scoot Henderson as he continues to grind through his first season. And we're going to hear from DeAndre Ayton coming off his third straight game of big-time production, which is nice. So a lot of things to get to today. If you want to reach out, feel free. 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. You can join us on the YouTube chat and be a part of our live stream here in studio and see Chris and I. Just go to Rip City Radio 620. That's the homepage for YouTube.com. And you'll see the live links for all of our local shows right there, including Blazers Game Day and Fifth Quarter. And be sure to click and subscribe to our page. One thing I do want to remind you of that we have coming up in just under 2 weeks, Friday, February 9th, which is the Friday before the big game between the Chiefs and 49ers. Dwight and I are going to be doing something very special for something that has touched my family and many of my friends. And I know the same for a lot of you, and that is to benefit the ALS Northwest. We're going to be chilling for a cause. We're going to do our show live from the cooler at the Jacksons off Bangy Road right here at I-5 and 217 in Lake Oswego. We're going to broadcast from a 37-degree cooler for 3 hours. You can stop by and say hi in the cooler. You can also enter your chance to win Trailblazer tickets. And if you go to our webpage, ripcityradio.com, and I've also put out the link across my social media, you can go to our calendar page and you'll find the icon for Chillin' for a Cause. We've got a auction page that's up right now, and we have some great Trailblazer items, autographed team basketballs. We have an autographed Scoot Henderson jersey. We have tickets in the Coors Light silver seats for an upcoming Trailblazer game that you can bid on. Also, autographed Trailblazer pennants. Also, you can bid on being a Trailblazer reporter for a day, and you can join me at an upcoming game where you can be a member of the media and take part in the post-game press conference with me at your side. Or if you want to host the Rip City Drive, you can also bid on that. And all proceeds will go to benefit ALS Northwest. So go to our website, ripcityradio.com. You'll find the icon for Chillin' for a Cause. Click on it. You'll find the link for the auction items, and you can start bidding on those right now. So we got some cool stuff, but most importantly, we get a chance to help out ALS Northwest and benefit individuals and families right here in our community. All right, before we focus in on tonight's matchup with the 76ers, let's take a trip back to last night. The Blazers coming off the 4-game road trip with the Chicago Bulls in town. And I was wondering, like I always do coming off the road trip, how would the team respond in that first game at home? It's always a tough one. Legs are a little bit tired, and you're trying to get into the groove after being out on the road. Well, the Bulls jumped out to a quick 11-4 lead after a Nikola Vucevic field goal with 9:03 left in the first quarter. Portland then responded with a 15-8 run with a 3 from Anthony Simons to tie the game at 19 with 3:45 left in the first. Chicago would go on to outscore Portland 7-4 the rest of the way and take a 26-23 lead at the end of one. Grant led Portland with 8 in the first. They connected on just 34% of their shots. That was a recurring theme for the evening, and Chicago hit 54% of their field goals in the opening period. We move on to the second. Dwight Reef 3 tied the game at 30 with 8:53 to play in the half, but then the Bulls started to make a move. Chicago used a 16-7 burst to take a 9-point lead at 46-37 following a Vucevic bucket. And after a Jabari Walker bucket cut the deficit to 6 at 46-40, the Bulls closed the half on a 7-2 run, finished off on an Alex Caruso three-pointer with just 2 seconds remaining in the half. Bulls take a double-digit lead into halftime at 53-42. Chicago made 54% of their shots in the first half, led by Kobe White. He finished with 11. The Blazers shot just 39% in the first half. Grant with 9, Jabari Walker with 7. So the Blazers facing a double-digit deficit moving into the third quarter. Portland opened up the third on an 11-4 run, cutting the deficit to 4 at 57-53. Ayton, Malcolm Brogdon, Grant all contributing during that spurt. Portland kept fighting. A 15-10 run helped them get their first lead of the game at 68-67 with 2:12 left in the third. Portland not shooting it well, but hard work on defense was keeping them close, which was really good to see. Chicago would take a 76-75 lead into the fourth. The Blazers outscored the Bulls 33-23 in the third. DeAndre Ayton had a monster quarter, 12 points on 4 of 4 shooting. Grant led the team with 14, and Brogdon had 7. Portland made 50% of their shots in the third. Chicago held to 41% shooting. In the fourth, the Bulls scored the first 7 points of the quarter before a DeAndre Ayton hoop cut the deficit to 6 at 83-77. The Bulls opened up a 91-82 lead, but the Blazers' 7-1 run capped off by a Simons three-pointer forced a Bulls timeout with 4:34 to play. The Blazers down 3 at 92-89. Simons later cut the Bulls' lead to 3 at 99-96 with just under a minute to play, but Desumu. I have a hard time with that name. Thank you. Yes, that would be me. Desumu hit a 3, and it put the game away with 20.5 seconds on the clock and extended the Bulls' lead to 102-96. The Blazers would turn it over on their next possession, and the Bulls would end up finishing it at the free throw line. They go on to get the win 104-96. So a good effort defensively. Offense, they just couldn't get the job done. They were 6 of 33 from downtown in the game, and that ended up being the big difference. And after the game, Billups talked about Ant, his offense, and what he was looking at and the shots they're able to get. Take a listen.
Yeah, you know, what I always just think about what I would do, you know, and what I did. And, you know, nights like that, especially on a night like today where we got in the bonus pretty early, like I would just, you know, I try to encourage Ant to just continue to stay aggressive trying to draw fouls, you know, because that free throw line is the easiest place in the game to score, you know. So I think that's one area, you know, improvement area for Ant, you know, learning how to draw fouls and being in those positions. And, you know, that was one time he thought he drew the foul and they didn't call it, and obviously he got a tech. But, you know, that's just a part of his, you know, this is all new for Ant, you know. It really is. And, you know, he's going to have to understand that those are going to be the coverages for him. And then also just, you know that some nights is just, if they're going to show you too, like, just be comfortable getting off of it, you know. And then for me, I got to do a better job of getting them off of the ball, you know, and then trying to bring them back to it. But we're getting everything we want with them on the ball, getting into the pocket. We're getting corner threes. We're getting DA in the pocket. We're getting everything we want. So, you know, sometimes, you know, you got to just pick your poison on that. For me, instead, we got to be comfortable with the shots that we're getting, you know, and be happy with that. And hopefully, you know, we make more tomorrow or the next day. But if we can generate, you know, 33, 35 threes, you know, a game or even more, then, man, I'm happy with that. You know, we did a pretty good job. And hopefully we just shoot it better.
All right, one player that's been on fire for the Blazers, DeAndre Ayton, his last 3 games, double-double machine. He's been a big factor. He's been aggressive. He had that huge third quarter last night. It's been great to see because they need him. They need his size, his presence, his playmaking, and the production with the rebounds and the points. And Billups was asked about DA over the course of those 3 games.
You know, I think Ant and Malcolm and Scoot, those guys have made a real effort to make sure to get him the ball in that pocket. You know, he can roll behind the defense, throwing it up for him. We've made a real concerted effort to, you know, we gotta try to get more, you know, out of DA, and we've been doing that. You know, I think he's been great for us. Now we gotta just make sure we don't forget about everything else we've been doing.
All right, one other thing I want you to hear from Coach Billups. He was asked about, you know, the offense. We saw struggles last night from just about everyone on the floor, aside from Ayton. The shooting numbers were not there, and they were just 6 of 33 from downtown. So the question is, were the offensive struggles a part of, you know, the team really making a concerted effort to get Ayton involved? And what about the rest of the offense, the impact, and then the game itself? Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, it kind of happens to us, you know, when we start, you know, getting guys healthy. You have to find ways to, you know, manufacture offense and get guys the ball. You want everybody to start to become cohesive and together. And, you know, we've been really trying to make a real effort to get the ball to DA, you know, and he's been doing a really good job. When he's getting it lately, he's starting to find himself in what we're doing. But, you know, when you do that, other things are kind of off a little bit. And it's just, we haven't played together enough to understand it yet. You just try to piece it together, get that going, and I'm really happy to see that. You know, we just keep piecing it all back together, and hopefully we can just be healthy for long enough to start to find some synergy in all of it. But yeah, I just thought, you know, our turnovers, I don't think that's what cost us today. I mean, I thought our turnovers really cost us. We go 6 for 33 from 3. It's tough to win a game like that, you know, but we did a good job of getting on the free throw line, but they just controlled the paint, man. They really did. They controlled the paint on us.
All right, so there's Chauncey Billups. It's just one of those games where we talk about it all the time. You hear coaches mention it. I know Terry Stotts used to say it all the time. It's a make-or-miss league. And I thought last night, you know, the Blazers made an effort to move the basketball and move bodies. They did a lot of good things. They just couldn't make shots. And when you go 6 of 33 from downtown, it's going to be hard to win a game in the NBA, especially in today's NBA. But, you know, the focus was there. I think the approach was proper. Effort was not a question. They just didn't make shots. And a lot of times it's more to it than just that. But I thought last night that the lack of shot making was the big difference in the game. But the defense, the energy, the effort I thought was there. And also, you know, with the Blazers, so many guys in and out of the lineup, really it was a matter of 6 guys who got the majority of the minutes. 5 starters, and then Matisse Thybulle off the bench. And so I think fatigue could be a factor. They're coming off the long road trip, and that can obviously factor in as well. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on Game Day. We'll come back. I want to get the thoughts of Chris Burkhart. Dave Deckard of BlazersEdge.com going to join us coming up at 5. We'll get his thoughts on the team, and we got to talk about a big night coming up in Blazers Edge.
It's time for a Blazers Game Day scoreboard report, powered by Columbia Heating and Cooling, raising your expectations of comfort.
All right, checking the NBA scoreboard for you. Second quarter in Charlotte. Knicks on top of the Hornets, 34-31. Dante DiVincenzo right now with 10 points. Second quarter in Cleveland. Clippers on top of the Cavs, 36-35. First quarter in Boston. Pelicans lead the Celtics 14-8. First quarter in Brooklyn. Nets on top of the Jazz, 16-11. And early on in Miami, the Heat on top of the Suns, 15-10. Games coming up later on today. 5 o'clock down in Houston. Rockets and Lakers. LA favored by 1.5. 5 o'clock tip in Memphis. Grizzlies and Kings. Sacramento favored by 10.5. 5 o'clock tip in Oklahoma City. The top two teams in the West, Timberwolves and Thunder. Oklahoma City favored by 2.5. In San Antonio at 5, Wizards and Spurs. San Antonio favored by 3.5. 18 wins combined between those two teams. 5:30 in Big D, Mavericks and Magic. Dallas is a 4.5-point favorite. 6 o'clock tip in Denver. We got a good one here with the Bucks and Nuggets. Denver favored by 3.5. Milwaukee sits at 32-14. Denver at 32-15. A potential NBA Finals preview. And 7 o'clock from Moda Center here in the beautiful Rose City, the 76ers and Trailblazers. Philly at 29-15 on the year. Portland currently sits at 13-33. Philadelphia favored by 9.5. And of course, Super Bowl 58, which is coming up in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. Chiefs and 49ers right now. San Francisco favored by 1.5. And that is your scoreboard report here on Blazer Game Day.
The best performing team requires the best workstations. What's the Scoot is brought to you by Office Furniture Reborn. Need desks, better office chairs, or just the right file cabinet? Office Furniture Reborn has a huge selection of colors and sizes to choose from. So drop by Office Furniture Reborn's huge showroom just off Pacific Highway in 217 or visit www.officefurniturereborn.com.
Boy, sometimes you look at the box score and there's just certain things that jump out. The Blazers did a much better job rebounding-wise. They were +8 after getting crushed on the boards on Friday down in San Antonio. But 6 of 33 from downtown. 18.2% from 3 is icky. And the Bulls a 52-40 edge in the paint. We heard from Chauncey Billups. He talked about how Chicago did a good job with their size and controlling the paint. They did also a 15-4 edge in fast break points. But the big story that we're focused on now is Scoot Henderson, the Blazers' top rookie. Didn't play much last night. 22 minutes, 4 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. So a 4-4-4 for Scoot. 22 minutes of action. You know, he was coming off the quad contusion that he suffered in San Antonio when he left the game in the first half and did not return. So I think the Blazers were monitoring his minutes. But the good news is we should see more time for him tonight. I mentioned the starters. Grant, Walker, Ayton, Simons, and Brogdon got the bulk of the minutes. And the main guy off the bench was Matisse Thybulle. Scoot got 22 minutes, 10 for Reith, and just a couple of minutes for Tamani Kamara. But limited action for the guys off the bench last night. So hopefully we'll see more Scoot tonight. And, you know, in regards to Scoot, I heard from another person today, and this is really cool, but I was talking to someone close to the team, and we were talking about Scoot Henderson. And this person I was talking to, you know, before the year began, it expressed concerns about, you know, Scoot not having known him or seen him around the facility based on some of the things he had heard. And overconfidence was a concern at that time. But he told me that throughout the course of the season, the way that he has handled his business, the way that he has responded to his teammates, the way that he puts work in at the practice facility by himself, the focus and energy and effort in practice, the attention to detail in film work, and just his overall demeanor, his attitude, the way he approaches the game. He said it's been a breath of fresh air for the Trailblazers. He did concur with me that, you know, Scoot Henderson, the way I see him is that right now, his game is not at the level to where he can be a leader on this basketball team. He's got a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of growth that's got to take place. but did acknowledge that of all the guys on the roster, that Scoot's got the natural energy, personality, everything you want to see in a guy who could be your, franchise cornerstone, who can be the leader of the locker room, be the voice of the team. And the Blazers had that for so long in Dame, who, by the way, is going to be in town on Wednesday night. But I love all the things I'm hearing about Scoot. Do we want to see more? Of course. Do we want him to become a superstar right now? Yes. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But all the behind-the-scenes things that I'm hearing about Scoot Henderson is nothing but positive. Nothing but positive. I mean, that's what you want to hear, right? I can work with a guy if he's struggling or not quite adapting to the NBA game yet at 19. If his attitude, work ethic, and everything else is all on point, I can work with that, right? You can work to someone that listens, that applies himself, that puts in the time on his own, that does all the different things you need. Because not every player does. So the more I hear about Scoot, the more I love. And the other thing I like, too, is like there's always a smile on his face. And I'm not trying to be corny or cheesy, but he smiles. Like you could tell the guy's having fun. And little things that I pick up on, the way he addresses people in the locker room when he's being asked questions, looks in the camera, looks in the person's eye, answers the question. I don't know. He's got the makings of a good young man. So very happy to hear that. I like hearing good reports. What you don't want to hear when you're trying to get information on a guy is like, well, they're concerned about work ethic, maybe the attitude, the way he carries himself. And you start getting all these red flags. Boom, 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 boom. And you're like, uh-oh. But none of that was Scoot Henderson. So all positive. So we should see more minutes. Now, I did hear something else, too, in regards to the trade deadline. And, I think when Dwight had mentioned this to me the other day, I thought he was, borderline ridiculous, which is often. But what I was told today is that the team is not going to rush to just make a move at the deadline. Now, I have been told and have fully expected Malcolm Brogdon to be moved out before the deadline, but I was told today that they're not just going to make a move to make a move, and if they don't get the deal that they believe is right in terms of value for a player like Brogdon, then they'll sit on it. And they'll wait until the offseason or more specifically sometime around the draft to go out there and make a move. I was also told that the team values not just draft picks, but young players, quality young players that can be brought in that match more the timeline of Scoot and, Shaedon Sharpe. So it's not just draft picks, but also young players. Because if you bring in a draft pick, and it depends on the player, of course, but if you bring in a draft pick, if you got a draft pick who's, 2 or 3 years away from really being productive, that doesn't necessarily match up with, what you have in Scoot and Shaedon right now or Anthony Simons. So just something to keep in mind as we approach the deadline. They're not going to make a move just to make a move. And if they don't get the right offer based on what they believe the value is for Malcolm, they'll sit on him and wait until the offseason. And I think what will happen is I do not expect the team this year to pull the plug on the season like we've seen the last couple of years. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they have to. The draft this year, draft positioning, because it's not a talent-rich draft, is not as critical. So I would expect them to continue to play guys. And to run with the same type of lineups we've seen. And they'll try to win. And, the natural course of the season will take place. And I think that's how it's going to go down. So there you go. That's the latest. That's the update. That's everything I've heard. Chris Burkhardt is here. What's up, brother? Nice to see you.
I'm still on this high from last night. I haven't come down yet.
You're still highly aroused.
Yeah, if I'm a little loopy, that's why.
The resident 49er fan is still highly aroused at what took place last night with the 49ers 27-7 comeback in the second half. He's feeling pretty good. All right, we got to talk to Dave Deckard. He's nice, too. We'll talk to Deckard and get his take on this. All right, joining us right now is the man behind the Ultimate Trailblazer site, blazersedge.com. He's on X at Dave Deckard, a good friend. I love talking basketball with him, and he joins us once again. Dave Deckard, what's up, buddy?
Well, I mean, could be better. I was hoping that the Blazers would win last night, but even though Chicago opened the door, they couldn't step through it. It's just been a rough few weeks, I guess.
Yeah, it really has. I thought last night they just couldn't make the shots. They couldn't make the threes, and they put themselves in a position and continue to grind. But, I mean, the offense last night, they just couldn't get it done. In fact, I'll ask you about that. We'll start with that. Chauncey Billups was asked about this, but how much of an impact do you think it had on the offense last night? They've made a more concerted effort over the last few games to really get DeAndre Ayton involved. Do you think that's come at the sacrifice of other guys potentially?
No, I don't, because you know what? When they get in the half court, there's not a lot of good options. Really, they're three-point dependent right now. You will see them win when they get on a huge hot streak beyond the arc. Other than that, chances are really slim. DeAndre Ayton isn't interfering with that. He's actually counterbalancing that. If they have more of an interior threat, that's going to give them more options. Their real problem offensively starts at the defensive end. They are allowing the opponent so many easy buckets that the field goal percentage has skyrocketed, and the Blazers are taking the ball out of the net half of their possessions, which means they're not running, getting down the floor before the defense sets up. And against a set defense, what are you going to do? I mean, Anthony Simons is great shooting long, but doesn't have a drive right now. Jeremy Grant is doing about all he can do. You've got two or three people in the regular rotation who just aren't scorers, who at best can hit bailout threes. And then you've got Ayton, who is the wild card. And I'm not surprised that, given these circumstances, they're going to that wild card, because unless they start defending better and running unopposed, they haven't got a lot of options.
What do you think has been the main contributor to the regression on defense?
You know, it's hard to say. I think part of it, honestly, this is the one area where I would agree with Coach Billups that injuries are killing the team. Simply from this perspective, I think the bench players are actually better defenders than the starters. But defense requires familiarity, repetition, continuity. The Blazers haven't had that. You need to be able to read your teammate and how they're going to react and know that they're going to adjust to whatever the offense is doing in a predictable way, and then you adjust to their adjustment. The Blazers are at best making one adjustment and then falling apart. No one can read each other, let alone the opponent. So what happens generally is they over-pursue the ball. They're really good at shutting down the first attempt, but you get one pass or maybe two, and the opponent has an easy bucket. Nothing's going to help that besides getting this team on the floor, getting them the reps and the confidence to translate their athleticism into actual defensive output. With so many injuries and so many different lineups, it's just really hard to do that.
We're talking with Dave Deckard, blazersedge.com, here on Blazers Game Day, getting ready for the Sixers and Trailblazers. It appears that Chauncey Billups has kind of settled in on what he wants to do with the starting lineup. We'll get to the backcourt in a moment. What do you think about Jabari Walker so far in the starting lineup next to Ayton and Grant?
Well, it solves a lot of rebounding problems, right? And Ayton's looking like a monster now on the boards. It's a huge difference because the opponent has to keep somebody on Walker. Otherwise, Walker is going to get that rebound. And now Ayton is rebounding one-on-one without a lot of traffic, and he looks great. So I think it actually helps him. I think it helps the Blazers with size as well, and obviously experience at small forward now with Jeremy Grant in there. But the thing is, you haven't really helped the offense overall. Walker can shoot, and he's an opportunistic scorer, but he's not really a point producer. So you just kind of shuffled the cards in a different way that makes Ayton better, doesn't hurt Grant, but doesn't increase the overall output. So I'm not sure this is the solution long term, but it's as good as what they were doing. So, hey, I mean, any port in a storm.
Well, in the backcourt, it looks like they're going to bring Scoot off the bench and are committed to that through the rest of the season. And we'll see what happens with the trade deadline, but that means Brogdon and Ant in the backcourt. And presumably when Shaden's healthy, it'll be Ant and Shaden in the backcourt. What do you think about that decision to, roll with the starting lineup and bring Scoot off the bench?
I think it's appropriate because Scoot's shooting percentage, again, isn't high enough, and so it's further hamstringing the offense. I think Henderson needs to learn without so much pressure. And I think, honestly, that second unit now gets really athletic, and that's what he needs. The thing you notice about Scoot is that he's running faster than everybody else. It's fantastic. He's pushing the offense the way Coach Billups wants. But he's got 4 teammates trailing behind him, none of them with him. That's what they've got to fix if he's going to be effective. They've got to have a devastating attack around him where he has someone to dish to on the wings. Now you're making opponents decide, do I stop this athletic phenom with shoulders like a linebacker and try to keep him from getting to the hoop and scoring, or do I guard the people on the wing who he's going to toss to for a slam dunk? That's an impossible situation to solve. Right now it's not happening because it's Scoot and then nobody else. Maybe, just maybe, some of those young hyper athletes off the bench can help solve that. If not, then at least Scoot can feel better in his conscience taking shots with non-scorers around him than he would with Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant on the wings, looking at him and wondering why he's not getting them the ball.
All right, Dave, we'll get to the trade deadline. I want to get your thoughts on that in just a moment, but let's talk about something that we both love so much, and that's Blazers Edge Night, which is going to come up this year. March 13th, the Atlanta Hawks are in town, and every year the Blazers Edge and your community goes through the process of spreading the word, purchasing tickets, which gives underprivileged youth a chance to go to Moda Center and see an NBA game for their first time. And I've been there multiple times on Blazers Edge Night to see these young kids and their eyes light up when they walk into the arena, which is really awesome. So I guess we'll get to how they can do it and people can be a part of it in just a moment. But how did you come up with the idea for Blazers Edge Night?
That was actually pretty simple. We were having a site get-together back in, I think it was 2007, long time ago. And people bought tickets, just for our website. The readers were going to gather. But one guy wrote in and said, well, I bought tickets, but it turns out I can't go. Do you know anybody in need who would need them? And so I put out that post, and a guy responded, yeah, I work with kids, and any of them would love to go. I said, well, I got like 4 tickets. How many kids do you have? And he says, well, I have 24. And I said, hold on a second. And I wrote another post, and I said, hey, here's what happened. We need 20 extra tickets. Can we get them? And then readers donated 100 that first year.
Wow.
So I wrote that guy back and said, not only you and your kids, but their friends, et cetera, et cetera. And we decided we should make that an annual event. And it grew from 100 to hundreds to thousands every year. And now we're right around the 2,000 mark every year. So it's grown into quite a big deal, and it makes a huge difference to the people who participate. These kids would never be able to go. It's not just the price of a ticket. It's the transportation. It's the safety and chaperoning. It's the feeling comfortable getting out of your neighborhood. And they don't have to do it alone. They go with their friends from school or their team or whoever is leading it, and with adults. And they all go to see a game together. It's a great bonding experience. It's a great chance to get out in the world for them. It's also a chance to renew and grow their Blazers fandom. So we love it.
Yeah, it's really a tremendous night. And what's great, Dave, is for this game against the Hawks, I've went to the page to buy tickets. I mean, tickets are as low as $12. You can get them for $16, $23. It all depends on where they're going to be located and sitting. But, I mean, $12, I can't even get – can a kid even eat at McDonald's for $12? I mean, it's absurd, right? The ticket prices are very reasonable for what we're hoping people will do, which is step up and get these kids to a game.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a family of 4, if you skip one eating out, you can probably get 4 tickets, So it's like, okay, and that it changes people's lives. I don't think you understand that. These kids transform. The barriers between them and their teachers or counselors or whatever get lowered because they get to interact as human beings, and they get to go to something that's free and fun and life-giving. And those opportunities are really rare. And all of a sudden, you see kids talking to their teachers and high-fiving, and the teachers talk about the transformation that happens because of even the anticipation of this event, let alone getting to go. So, yeah, it's a really big deal. Now, I got to tell you, though, Chad, it's been slower this year. We've got less than a month left and half of our tickets remaining. So we could really use some help if listeners are out there. It's time to put the pedal to the metal because we always have a max amount of people who want to go. And it's awfully sad to tell them, well, 3 weeks before the event, you can't actually do it. So, if your listeners could help us out, that would be a huge benefit. It's blazersedge.com, and it's right on the front page. You can click through to the story that explains it, and then in that story is also a link to where you can buy tickets from the Blazers themselves. You just use your own credit card. You're buying it from them, not from us, and it just gets donated into this pool that the kids use. So it's just as easy as buying your own tickets, except you're buying them for someone who is in need.
Yeah, I'm looking at the page right now through the Trailblazers, and right now you've got the purple or red option, $12 or $16 tickets. You click on which tickets you want to buy, and then you can select the quantity, and then boom, it's that easy. So even and Dave, here's the key. Even if you just buy one ticket and spend $12, that's one more kid that gets to go and one more life-changing experience that gets to take place.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, we love the numbers. I mean, to say that we've sent, 25,000 kids over the years now is nice. But really, each one of those is a story, and you can see it in their eyes, and you can watch it in their face, and you can see it in the faces of the adults who take them, many of whom have come up to me in tears. Literally saying, I did not know something like this was possible for my kids. I did not know something like this was possible for any of us to be this open and to be together in this way, and thank you. And it's not me. It's all of you who do it. And if you could help us out by making that happen for some teachers, counselors, principals, coaches, and kids this year, that would be amazing.
And I've put the link out to the ticket buying page across all my social media. You can find me, Chad Doing, D-O-I-N-G, like what are you doing? And I'll put it out there again as soon as I'm done talking to Dave, which is terrific. Now, before you go, my friend, the trade deadline is approaching on February 8th. We're less than 2 weeks away. What is your idea in terms of what you expect the Blazers to do?
I wouldn't be surprised if they did very little or nothing. I mean, I think that they understand there's no move they can make this year that's going to change the fortunes of the team. Malcolm Brogdon is kind of sticking out there, but they don't have to move him now. They could move him in the summer. They could move him next trade deadline. For Malcolm's sake, I think it would be cool for him to go to a contender and get into the playoffs, but that's not why trades are made. So I think he's the most likely. I don't think they've shown any sign of trading Jeremy Grant, and everybody else is pretty young. So I think it'll be quiet, but I won't be disappointed if it's quiet. That said, the team is in a position where if any good deal comes up that they love, there's no penalty for making it. The same rationale that they're not going anywhere also argues for making moves that they like. So if they get a nice deal, I'm sure they will pull the trigger. But I don't think that they're going to feel pressed to make a move, and I think the prospects might be better for them in the summer for most of their players. So, depend on it, depend on them looking, but expect it to be pretty quiet, I would say.
Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com. Blazers Edge Night. I just put out a tweet right now with the details. March 13th against the Hawks. I still have half the tickets remaining, so we got to jump on that and buy more tickets, either $12 or $16. You can buy as many as you want. You can even buy one, but every ticket purchase changes the life of a youngster. So let's get on that. Dave, as always, my friend, I love talking ball with you. I hope you have a good night, and I'll continue to spread the word about Blazers Edge Night.
All right. Thank you so much, Chad. Have fun.
You got it, buddy. There you go. There's Dave Deckard. He is truly one of the nicest human beings I've had a chance to meet. And he loves basketball. He likes to talk hoop.
I don't care what he loves. That Blazers Edge Night's a pretty cool event, man.
You've been there for many of them.
Yeah, I've been there. I bought tickets for some before, but I've been there, and kind of like you said, like just seeing those kids in the arena, and you know what it means to them. It's a really cool event that comes from the heart, and yeah, if you have the means, do it. It's totally cool event that he puts on. So kudos to you, Dave.
I don't want to drop any names because I think they did it with a certain level of anonymity, but there have been trailblazers in the past who have jumped on board to help the cause and buy tickets, which is cool.
That's pretty cool for sure.
In fact, I think one ex-Trailblazer called up someone involved with Blazers Edge and said, how many tickets do you have remaining? Here's the number. All right, I'd like to buy all of them. And he did. That's pretty darn cool. Pretty good. What do you think about the Blazers doing nothing at the deadline? What would be your reaction if the Blazers did nothing at the deadline and waited till the offseason? Would that shock you?
I don't know if I'd be shocked. Well, okay, you know what? If Malcolm Brogdon wasn't traded, I probably would be shocked because all indications to me have been that he would be traded at the deadline. However, it does think like they might be wavering a little bit to having him for the whole year for the developmental purposes. Makes sense. And as Dave said, I mean, there is not really a rush. They can do the offseason thing and maybe get more out of him. And you never know. There's not a rush there. And if they think that he's important to that locker room and development, I would rather them do that than make something, super quick, right? Because they feel like they have to get a trade done in the next, week and a half. So, yeah, if he's gone or if he's still a Blazer, I would be shocked. But I wouldn't be disappointed because, again, there's still avenues come offseason.
Oh, by the way, one side note. I came into the studio today, and I was walking down one of the hallways trying to get some business done, and I encountered a precious young little girl, and she was holding her pamphlet, and she was smiling, and she said, "Hi, my name is Liberty. Would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies?"
And you melted about as quick as one of the little chocolate on a thin mint in the hot sun. You melted, and you're like, how many boxes, kiddo? Liberty, I am here for you.
Precisely. And, dude, you know this as a girl dad. I have a soft place in my heart for girls. I'm like, you need me to buy Girl Scout cookies for you? Yeah, I can do that. So I ended up spending $36 on Girl Scout cookies, and I don't even eat them.
Yeah.
That doesn't fit my lifestyle.
See, this is where I run in trouble because the kids do the fundraiser for softball.
Yeah.
And it's pepperoni sticks and chocolate. Well, I'm like, how the heck am I supposed to sell pepperoni sticks to my family? Their grandpa owns a meat shop, right? So they usually just stay in my house, which is terrible when they stay in my house and aren't sold because I'm a snacker. And I'm like, $1 for a stick? But you got to be careful, Chad, because if one daughter realizes that you bought a stick from her bundle, then the other daughter's like, hey, Dad, how come you bought Peyton more and you aren't buying from me? I'm like, okay, go get another $1. Next thing you know, I was their fundraiser. They're all sold, and I bought them all.
Yeah. That's exactly how that went down. Now, what was the name? Oh, yeah, World's Finest. That's the chocolate bars I used to sell door to door in the neighborhood for Little League or T-ball.
Yeah. Yes.
$1 a piece. Would you like to buy a candy bar?
Yeah. I don't know if they were really the world's finest, but they did taste good.
Yeah. There you go. All right. So I got hooked. I couldn't say no. And I did ask her, I said, do you like that commercial? Liberty, liberty, liberty. She did.
Depends how young she is. She's like, what's a commercial? They don't have those on Netflix.
What's a commercial?
My kids get so mad if they have to watch regular TV or it's like Peacock or something where we didn't pay for the premium because, you can only buy so many. Dad, I can't fast forward these stinking commercials, Dad. And they get so angry.
If they only knew.
If they only knew.
We actually used to have to get up and crank a knob on the TV that was black and white because we didn't have a remote. That's all foreign language to them.
Yep. They get mad.
On demand, immediate gratification, or they're angry.
Oh, the TV's not working? I'm grounded from my TV? Fine, I'll just watch Netflix on my tablet. No, you are grounded from Netflix on any screen.
I would hate to be grounded from YouTube. I hope that doesn't happen to me. My life would be screwed.
You get in trouble.
Oh, that'd be so bad. All right, we'll come back and we'll step into the coach's corner. We got to hear from Chauncey Billups. Big thanks to Dave Deckard. We're getting ready for the Blazers and Sixers. And I'll give you an injury report, too. It'd be helpful if Joel Embiid decides not to play tonight.
between trying to actively get more going for DA and internally and getting maybe a little offbeat offensively in other places right now, just kind of trying to find those rhythms in other places as you're getting guys healthier again and kind of resetting things?
Yeah, it kind of happens to us, when we start, getting guys healthy. You have to find ways to, manufacture offense and get guys the ball. You want everybody to start to become cohesive and together. And, we've been really trying to make a real effort to get the ball to DA, and he's been doing a really good job when he's getting it lately. He's starting to find himself in what we're doing. But, when you do that, other things are kind of off a little bit. And it's just we haven't played together enough to understand it yet, So you just try to piece it together, get that going, and I'm really happy to see that, and then we just keep piecing it all back together, and hopefully we can just be healthy for long enough to start to find some synergy in all of it, But yeah, I don't, I just thought, our turnovers, I don't think that's what, cost us today. I mean, I thought our turnovers really cost us. We go 6 for 33 from three. It's tough to win a game like that, But we did a good job of getting on the free throw line, but they just controlled the paint, man. They really did. They controlled the paint on us.
What do you think has flipped for DA the last couple of games? Is it just getting back in a rhythm after being out for so long, or is something different with how he's playing?
I think Ant and Malcolm and Scoot, those guys have made a real effort to make sure to get him the ball in that pocket, or, he can roll behind the defense, throwing it up for him. We've made a real concerted effort to, we gotta try to get more, out of DA, and we've been doing that. I think he's been great for us. Now we got to just make sure we don't forget about everything else we've been doing,
Chelsea, what does Ant have to do on a night like tonight where, and this isn't the first time we've seen it tonight, where he's got very competent defenders in Caruso and AO fighting over top, and the bigs are locking, trailing underneath, taking away that, and backside guys are just waiting for that cross-court pass. And what does he have to do to take that next step? Because there's nights where you just got to find a way to break it. And how does he take that evolution to find that and kind of on nights like this when they're looking to just ice him out?
Yeah, what I always just think about what I would do, and what I did. And, nights like that, especially on a night like today where we got in the bonus pretty early, like I would just, I try to encourage Ant to just continue to stay aggressive, trying to draw fouls, because that free throw line is the easiest place in the game to score, So I think that's one area, improvement area for Ant, learn how to draw fouls and being in those positions. And, that was one time he thought he drew the foul and they didn't call it, and obviously he got a tech. But, that's just a part of his, this is all new for Ant, it really is. And, he's going to have to understand that those are going to be the coverages for him. And then also just, know that some nights is just, if they're going to show you too, like, just be comfortable getting off of it, And then for me, I got to do a better job of getting them off of the ball, and then trying to bring them back to it. But we're getting everything we want with them on the ball, getting into the pocket. We're getting corner threes. We're getting DA in the pocket. We're getting everything we want. So, sometimes, you got to just pick your poison on that.
How do you balance that in a given night? Like you said, you were getting looks. If you watch the film tomorrow, I bet you're going to go, we're comfortable with the looks that we got. So how do you balance that at a night when Ant is quote unquote struggling from the field, but the looks as an overall offense, you're generating what you want?
I think you got to be, for me, instead, we got to be comfortable with the shots that we're getting, and be happy with that. And hopefully, we make more tomorrow or the next day. But if we can generate, 33, 35 threes, a game or even more, then, man, I'm happy with that, You know, we did a pretty good job. And hopefully we just shoot it better.
All right, there's Coach Billups following the Blazers game last night at Moda Center. But another busy week, Burkhart. Game last night, game tonight, game Wednesday, game Friday, game Sunday. And the schedule is getting progressively difficult. Chicago last night, Philadelphia tonight. Thankfully, there's no Embiid. The Bucks in town with Dame on Wednesday. And then back-to-back games Friday, Sunday against the Denver Nuggets on the road. Brutal.
Yeah, it's a rough stretch. Woo! It's a rough stretch. Not a lot of rest and not a lot of, air quote, easy teams rolling through town or wherever you're stopping. It's a rough stretch to get to All-Star break.
What do you make of Ayton's uptick in performance over the last 3 games, which has been terrific? He's been great.
He has been good, and I think part of it is just simply having the chance. I mean, Coach has talked about trying to get him the ball more, right? Trying to get him more involved. You saw some turnovers in that game just last night because they were trying to force the ball to him to get him involved, running different plays, running sets they weren't used to, trying to find ways to get him going. And I think with that is almost like a little bit of a vote of confidence, right? And now he's taking some more shots and he's being more active. And I like the fact that now it's 3 straight games where he's out there and he's putting up the numbers that you expect a guy of his pay grade and size and skill to put up. So I think it's just the opportunity is there, and they're just really trying to force feed him a little bit.
Now you're gonna have to forgive me. I just asked you a basketball question, and I realized right after I asked the question that you're still thinking about the 49ers. My bad.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about the 49ers and the Super Bowl and how we get to knock off the Chiefs' kingdom and how many times Taylor Swift is going to be on screen. It's going to be crazy.
That's amazing. How many times will she be on screen?
Every other play.
You know there's got to be an over-under on that. I've not seen the prop for that yet.
It totally has to be a prop bet. Huh. Here's the thing. You know what they're going to do because the pregame show is going to be all day, all morning, right? Is there going to be a Taylor Swift flight tracker?
I want that.
And we head to our Taylor Swift update. She's currently over the Pacific, getting into, Pacific Northwest region.
What do you think she'll wear at Super Bowl? Will she go fancy or will she go Kelsey jersey? It's an interesting question.
That's a question.
Do you go fancy dress and go red theme because it's a Super Bowl, or do you just go all on, join the family, and go Kelsey jersey?
I say go all on Kelsey jersey, baby.
Huh. Just something to ponder there.
Yeah. Kelsey jersey is the smart play. Don't dress up because, if you have to exit with the rest of the civilians, right? It's the easiest way to blend in.
All
Camouflage.
Right. Camouflage. That's what I'm talking about. All right, we'll come back, and we got to get the Coors Light Cold Hard Facts. We still have our keys to the game coming up. Tip-off's coming up at 7. Blazers, Sixers. No Joel Embiid tonight. And Curtis Long, the principal, standing by for your Trailblazer pregame show. All right, two things for you for the Coors Light Cold Hard Facts tonight. The Blazers must continue to make an effort, and the coaches need to continue to emphasize in practice that sharing the basketball is the number one priority. I was very impressed with the ball movement and player movement on the road trip. I thought the Blazers did a good job of moving the basketball last night. They just couldn't get anyone to make shots. But there's no doubt that when they move the ball and make an effort to get multiple people involved, that they get better looks. So continue to do it. It's got to be a point of emphasis in practice, and the coaches got to continue to ride the guys to play that style of basketball. And also, after watching a lot of basketball over the last couple of weeks, the Denver Nuggets are still the best team in the NBA. I think the key down the stretch for the contenders is going to be health. But if I look at the top of the heap in the East and in the Western Conference, between Boston and Milwaukee, you can throw Philadelphia in there as well. They've got the reigning MVP in Joel Embiid. So Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia. On the other side, Oklahoma City, Minnesota, the Clippers, and the Nuggets. Throw in the Suns, the Kings, whoever. There's no doubt in my mind that Denver's the best team in basketball. And if they remain healthy, I just asked myself the question, who's good enough to take them out in a 7-game series? And I think the answer is nobody. And Jokic is still playing the best basketball in the NBA. They just fly on the under the radar because they don't get the hype and the attention that other teams in the NBA do. And I think Burkhart called this at the beginning of the year when I asked him, like, what team's the best? Who is the best? He's like, Denver. Just look at the way they play, their experience, and Jokic. And I'm like, he's right. So there you go. Those are your Coors Light Cold Hard Facts. Now, Burkhart just mentioned something to me right when we were going into the Cold Hard Facts. He goes, imagine, and anytime Chris says imagine or think about this, I could tell that he's been thinking about something. But he goes, think about this. What if the Chiefs win and then Travis Kelce drops down on a knee and proposes to Taylor Swift? Let me ask you a question. Would that be a situation where Taylor Swift, would she like that? I think when a fan proposes to a lady on a Jumbotron at a sporting event that it's a very bad idea.
Oh, yes. 100%.
That you're applying undue pressure on the lady to say yes. I hate that. It's really bad. That's a bad play. But if you're Travis Kelce and you just win the Super Bowl and you decide you want to propose to Taylor Swift, I don't have an issue with that if he chose to take that route.
Wasn't that Ian Johnson of Boise State who did it? His girlfriend was a cheerleader after
right
they
after
upset
the Statue of Liberty play?
after they upset Oklahoma.
Huh.
That's what I was thinking in my head. I'd crack up. It'd be funny.
Let's see here.
We're talking in the chat because people are like, I'm tired of Taylor Swift. I don't need her on my screen. I'm like, I don't care what the heck they use for their B-roll. If the 49ers are winning, I'm happy. I'm happy. Show a close-up of a blade of grass for 5 minutes. I'd still be stoked.
They're still married, by the way. Ian Johnson and his wife.
Oh, there you go. See? A match made in the end zone.
They have a daughter, Johanna. Yeah, I think Travis Kelce should do something like that. That'd be pretty awesome. The internet would break if that took place, by the way.
It would break. You wouldn't even be able to post about it.
That video from the field there in Las Vegas, we would see that for the rest of our lives.
Oh, yeah. All year long on the NFL. Every single Chiefs game. Every single time they show her, they'd flash back to, Super Bowl Sunday. That's exactly how it would go down, man.
What if he won MVP and he's sitting there with the Lombardi, the MVP trophy, and he gets down on a knee and pulls out some fat rock?
Yeah. What if he opens up the top of the Lombardi and the ring is in there like he was already ready for it?
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. He needs to be careful. He is playing with gasoline right now because things that he could do could lead to internet breakage.
Could. Absolutely. I mean, the internet would not work for a solid 24 hours. I mean, we saw internet outages here during an ice storm. Well, if he bought out the ice that goes on your ring finger, oh, yeah, countrywide internet outage.
What are the odds on that? What are the odds? What odds would you get? Travis Kelce proposes to Taylor Swift after the game.
But 40% he wants to. He wants to.
That'd be amazing. That'd be cool. I'd be down with that. Count me as in on that idea. Nice work. I like your noggin, Burkhart. I like it. Still focused on San Francisco, but that's okay. You're allowed to, man. Your team's in the Super Bowl. That's awesome.
Gosh, it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. A lot of pressure, though. A lot of pressure as a fan.
And your quarterback, Brock Purdy's got a chance to silence all critics if he can take out one Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, namely my boss.
It's true. This is what I've been saying all along. You get Brock Purdy in a big game against the Patrick Mahomes, he can't win that game.
I mean, you got to think it through. If he wins this game, suddenly you and Brian just aren't going to have a lot to talk about.
No, that would be quite a feat for Mr. Irrelevant to go from being the last player picked in the draft to all of a sudden beating Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe the Chiefs are underdogs. That's still mind-blowing to me. Interesting. Good times. Are you excited about Wednesday? Dame coming back to town. How cool is that?
Yeah, that stadium's going to be.
Because he's only going to make one return. This is the first. This is going to be different than any other night.
It's going to be a big one.
He will get a standing O as he deserves.
A standing letter O.
And I remember what you said.
Come on, that was good.
That was good. A standing letter O. You said, we talked about the first game back in Milwaukee.
That's exactly what I think. The game in Milwaukee, he's still feeling his way around. And he's feeling comfortable now. Back at home, doesn't really matter if you win or lose because you're still a playoff team. He's going to try to hit 70.
Keys to the Game, brought to you by Gresham Toyota. At Gresham Toyota, we stand behind our commitment to have the best Toyota pricing in Oregon with our Swickard Price Promise.
All right, keys to the game tonight with the Blazers and Sixers. Number one, I really like what we saw last night from Portland, especially with Jeremy Grant, who I think was 13 of 16 at the foul line. If you get into a situation earlier where the outside shots, the three-point opportunities aren't falling, don't be afraid to put the ball on the floor and attack the rim. You know, Chauncey talked about Chicago owning the paint. I want to see the Blazers be aggressive inside. I mean, don't force-feed DeAndre Ayton. Make an effort to get him involved, but if the shots aren't falling, attack the rim, put the pressures on the official to make the call, and show them that you're going to be the aggressor from the start, and I think that'll put Portland in a really good spot. I think elsewhere, like I mentioned before, it's a point of emphasis. Continue to coach and teach ball movement. I want to see multiple guys touching the ball in each possession. I want the ball whipping around the floor, and I want guys to get open looks. And if they continue to take that approach, I think that would be nice. Also, with more guys available tonight, I'd like to see more than just 5 guys take up the bulk of the minutes. I don't want to see fatigue be a factor. It's going to be a long and difficult week with Philadelphia tonight, Milwaukee in town Wednesday, and then back-to-back games at Denver. They need to have other guys step up and make plays and get Scoot more minutes tonight now that he's not even listed on the injury report with that quad contusion. He needs more than 22 minutes. And I think if they can do those things, they'll be okay. They got a puncher's chance tonight because there's no Joel Embiid on the floor. So there you go. That's what I'm looking at tonight. Hey, Chris, what are your keys to the next 2 weeks for the San Francisco 49ers? That's the most important question.
Rest up and heal up. You got to have Debo healthy. I need Christian McCaffrey healthy. And then, if you're Brock Purdy, work on that accuracy just a little bit. I got to give him props, so I do like his adjustments. I thought that he started that game. He looked nervous and was making bad passes. By the end of the game, he was making the right reads and was killing that good Detroit defense with his feet. So, yeah, the big thing here for me, Chad, game plan, and then just stay healthy and then just let this thing go because it's going to be an absolute barn burner of a football game.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Curtis Long has got your Trailblazer pregame show, which is next. Tip-off with the Trailblazers and Sixers coming up from Moda at 7. And then following the game, Chris and I are back with the